What does the open?
Ready? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October 13th, 2025 special board meeting of the West Contra Costa Unified School District School Board. The time is now 11:04. We don't have a quorum yet, so we'll check back in at 11:10. 11:10, we will check back in. Thank you, and I apologize.
I didn't check on it.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the West Contra Costa Unified School District School Board of October 13th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order at 11:12. To access translation in Zoom, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. And individuals wishing to speak on the closed session items listed. Please submit a couple, well, we don't really have a lot of people. When you get to that item, please raise your hand. Individuals will have 2 minutes per person for a total of 1 hour. Speaking time is not to be transferred from one person to another, and there is no substitution of speakers. We alternate between the Zoom comment and an in-person comment. Public comment period is safe space where diverse viewpoints may be expressed civilly without interruption or intimidation. Please listen attentively to each speaker's comment and respect their time as if it were your own. Be open to a different point of view if one is offered, and due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Moving on to welcome, we're moving on to A3, Pledge of Allegiance. If you're willing or able, please rise. Imagine the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number A4, land, labor, and body acknowledgement. We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chochenyo, Moricua, Karkin, Ohlone peoples, and recognize them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Labor and body recognition acknowledgement. I acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systemic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. I remember that Black and brown people were born and died working this land against their will for generations. I also acknowledge the continued contribution of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today of all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, traffic force, and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. Author, Dr. Rochelle Rogers Hook. A5, roll call. Superintendent Cotton, would you please take roll?
Trustee Gonzalez,
Present.
trustee Smith Folds,
Good morning, everyone present.
trustee Hernandez,
Not here at this moment. Hernandez is not here at this moment.
clerk Juliana. Good morning, everyone present. Board President Reckler.
Good morning, everyone. I'm present. Thank you. And moving to A6, agenda review and adoption. Is there anything on the agenda that the board would like to review, modify, adjust? Seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda as it is printed. But now, what would we like to do? Would we like to pause for 5 minutes and wait for trustee Hernandez? Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll check back in at 11:20 a.m. And see if we can get trustee Hernandez here. And I also have a note from the translator Otilia that she can't hear. Okay.
Nothing. These are gummies.
Can you, Otilia, can you hear us?
That's Ashkelon, the gummies or something.
Ashkelon.
Yes, I'm sure that's supposed to be taken out. And then this is some type of blood pressure because of the district.
I can hear now, thanks. Okay, all right, so we'll be back at 11:21. Thank you, everyone. Okay, good morning, everyone. We are back. Trustee Hernandez arrived and joined us at 11:20. We are up to the action items. The public will have an opportunity to make public comment on each action item after staff presentation, and the time allotted for public comment and each action item will be no more than 10 minutes and 1 minute per speaker. So the first action item B1 is to approve a CSBA policy services contract to fully update the board's policies and bylaws. And that's for us here and the governance committee. Do you wanna talk to it?
Sure, I'd be happy.
Okay.
So we were able to utilize CSBA's resources in a way. I mean, we paid for it, but we had an expert look at all of our policies. And look at whether or not we're in compliance, out of compliance, like whether we had adopted a resolution that needed to be adopted. And we have a lot of resolutions as well as policies that are not up to date. The number is on the agenda, as you can see. So 17.9% of our district policies have never been adopted or revised. And then 74% out of our 646 policies have an older adoption or revision than CSBA sample policy, so there could be changes there. And then 8.2% of 72 policies that were unique from CSBA sample policies we don't have. So we have a lot of work that we need to do. And in order to do so, they're also offering us their services, which is going to cost, but we don't think we can do it alone in the governance team, or I think as a board in general. So we wanted to bring this forward and see if you guys would be willing to go along with this consulting contract so that they can help us review it. And then the president can talk a little bit more about what that process would look like if you would like.
Yeah, sure. So we reviewed this in governance and thought it was really important that the whole board weighed in. What would happen? I want to thank Superintendent Cotton, because I went to her and I was like, listen, I don't have a lot of confidence in the, how updated our policies are, and will you help us by pushing this work forward? So we had an initial agreement with CSBA to do a run through, and then they came back and were like, okay, this is where you are. I want to say that we didn't cause this. It's boards before us, it's cumulative, but we have the opportunity now to stop and to make some corrections. The way it would work is CSBA would come in, and over the course of a number of days in January, February, I think we're up to February now, February 2026. They would come in and pull in staff and whoever needs to be in that room, and they'll go through and they'll discuss, all of the updates. And then governance committee will be involved in that as well. Then those will come back to the board in the way that we've been doing for a discussion, and then, feedback goes back to the governance committee and then action. We thought it was important that the board be aware of the work and all of us commit to it, because right now Trustee Gonzalez and I are doing governance. We may not pass December, it may be somebody else, and so whoever that team is, we didn't want to go out and spend the money without everybody knowing that this is the work in front of all of us. And I also thought it'd be a really great board goal, like this could be a board goal for 2026. How far can we get through all of this work? So that's what it would look like. Superintendent Cotton, any comments or any?
There's urgency, and the importance of getting this work done is that, as Trustee Gonzalez-Hoy mentioned, we have 646 of our policies have an older adoption or revision date compared to our CSBA sample policy. That means that it's a possibility that 600 of our policies may be out of compliance with current law, regulations and ed code. And so there is an urgency to make sure the policies align with what is current around what governs schools. So that's the importance of getting this done as quickly as we can.
Yeah, and then just one more comment from me is I often look at our board policies and I'm just like, oh, 2007, you know? I don't know if I could believe this or not, and then I have to go out and look, and then I have to look at the law and see if it's up to date, and then like try and figure out like, you know, is it accurate or, you know, where we are, so if we all had confidence in that document, I think it would just save a lot of time. Just in the work we did, so that's it,
Can I add one more thing?
yeah.
Once these policies are updated, then I think it will be manageable for us to quarterly update policies as they come. And once we get it taken care of, I think there is a plan or vision for keeping it.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to address that too, if I can. So CSBA publishes a quarterly update of things that change and things that your board might want to look at. I want to say that it's a lot. I mean, even on a quarterly basis, it's significant amount of updating. So, you know, I just want to mention that, you know, you know, it could be 20 or 25 different things that come every quarter. And so I just, you know, thought I would see that, and you can see the sheets if you go back in the governance committee agendas. Sometimes I put them in just so people could see, hey, this is what comes from CSBA, and it's a lot, so I think it's just important to look at. Are there any questions or from anyone?
The cost,
Cost,
Just
Is
20,
it the said cost that's on the agenda, the 21,000?
555.
yeah,
okay,
And there's no going up more than that, right? Cause I know you guys paid already like 1,200 for the first initial review. Say we do go it, like, will they come back and say, oh, it's gonna be more because there's more issues, or is it that's the set contract?
This is a set contract for a year, and so they're offering their services for a full year. What it looks like, I think you just described it, what it looks like is them coming out for 2 to 3 solid days, working with staff, inviting board, to sit down and go through and update as many policies as we possibly can. After that 2 to 3 day period, that would happen right now in February, they have dates available. Then we have access to them for a full year to provide ongoing support as if we didn't finish all 600, or if we have some questions or want to take things back to community or to staff, we'll have additional time to continue those. And so it doesn't, I don't think that it will tap out, and we'll have access to a consultant through CSDA to support us through that process.
Okay.
So February 26th to February 27th,
At this
at
moment,
this moment, that's the
Yes.
year, okay.
Yeah. whenever the work starts.
So
For a
when-
full
for that
year.
year, okay.
so do we have the option to put on the table what policies we're looking at first versus policies just randomized and
Yeah.
thrown on there?
yes, so I asked that very specifically, like, where do we start in this, you know, it's like, you know, like, where do you start? And they said, where you start first is what you don't have, and we actually, there are policies that we do not have on the books before, and that's what they would recommend starting with, and then they will guide us through the most important updates first.
And then there's also, there's nothing wrong with, continuing our work. And so we've already, between now and February, that's,
Right.
you know, 5 months, 4 months, we can continue this work.
Oh, yeah,
And we have prioritized some that need to be addressed. Some are gonna come today. We got work to do with that. And so we'll continue to do this work up until the point in which we're able to kind of batch fill this work.
yes, for the prioritization is definitely part of this. Any other questions?
There's public comment.
Oh, thank you. Is there public comments on the item?
Oh, never mind.
The hand.
Yeah.
No. public
No, no.
comments.
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Playing with that.
Ms. Marie, please unmute yourself.
Oh, hi, board. I just wanted to compliment how wonderful this view is on Zoom and the camera like goes around the whole room. I just wanted to say it's nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then, I'll accept the motion, to approve the CSBA Policy Services contract.
Public
to
comment.
Update the board's policies and bylaws.
There's another hand that came
Oh,
up.
sorry, I'm sorry, I should probably look at that.
Sky Nelson, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for letting me into public comment. I appreciate learning about this contract and I understand the importance of it. I'm weighing in my mind what I've learned about the other priorities we have and the other balance of priorities for funding that we're behind on. And the amount we spend on advising and protecting ourselves. And I understand the need. I just want to make sure we're keeping in mind the amount that we're protecting ourselves versus moving forward with intention and positive change. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Okay, great. I'll accept a motion on the item to approve CSBA Policy Services contract to fully update the board's policies and bylaws.
So moved.
And I'll second it. So it's Gonzalez, Hoy, and Reckler is the second. Any additional comment?
Yeah, I would just like to address a couple of things with what we just heard. I actually do think that using the services is much cheaper than us going through legal counsel. Which, you know, over time would be much, much more, simply because what this did do for us is to show us that we are behind on legally compliant policies. So we're actually also open to liability if we don't do this. So if we don't approve the contract, then our backup is really gonna be use legal services because, you know, staff or board might not have the expertise to update some of these policies. So I actually think it's gonna be a lot greater cost than what this contract would be. That's it. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to second what trustee Gonzalez Roy says, 100%, he's 100% right. And as a board, three of our biggest responsibilities are to hire and evaluate the superintendent, to approve and make sure policies are up to date, and to do all of our required adoptions and saying yes to all the budgets and the textbooks and all of those other things. So within the top three things, you know, out of all the things board does, this is definitely within the top three. And that concludes my comment. If there's nothing more, we'll go to the vote. Trustee Shuffle,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
trustee Hernandez,
Yes.
trustee Guiliana,
Yes.
and yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving now to B2. Discussion and potential action on emergency concerted activity resolution Ed Code Section 35161 and 45055 and Government Code 53060. Superintendent Cotton, I believe this is your item.
So what I'm bringing to the board today, and let me double check, is Mary Warhol?
Yes, she's on. Should I
She's on.
promote them?
If you can promote her, please, thank you. I did ask for legal counsel to join. This is preparation in the event that there is a strike. We are working to avoid a strike as best as we can, but in the event of a strike, this is action that the board would need to consider and take in order to ensure that our students are, that we're maintaining our constitutional rights of our students to a safe and educational environment, despite a work stoppage. This resolution is being brought to the board today since we learned on Friday evening that one of our unions, our Teamsters, have completed their strike vote. 96% of their members have voted yes to a strike. And so given that information, it is time for the board to take action in preparation for a possible work stoppage. So this is what's being brought to you today.
Okay, thank you. And is there any comment from legal counsel first? Or is that just for any board questions?
Let me ask Mary, is there anything else that I missed that should be added to this discussion?
No, you provided a great summary, so can answer questions later as needed.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we will go to board questions. Does anybody have questions?
I do. What's the estimated cost of substitute pay up to $750?
We don't know how many students will come to school, and we don't know how many staff will be needed. We do know that on average, every day we pay about $1 million in salary. That for the staff who are not working, those funds would be going to pay for a substitute or pay for additional staffing to ensure safety, cleanliness, all the things that are required to run our schools every day. So I don't have a specific dollar amount, but I know that it would be within what we pay daily for staff that are there.
If any of the authorized actions from the superintendent, are we gonna trigger any issues with our unions, just the unfair practice?
In terms of an unfair practice for this process, I
Yeah.
don't believe so. This, again, is very routine for the board to take action in the event of a strike. I think any action that we take, the unions can look at it as something that is not in favor of their goals of higher compensation and all of those things that they're requesting. We have a responsibility to ensure that schools continue, that we have adults in buildings that are providing services for students in the event that our teachers and our classified staff are.
All right, and then my last question, why such a high amount of $750, up to $750?
Up to $750. I know that in our last, I think the last well-publicized strike was possibly gonna happen in Oakland last spring. Their advertised sub rate was $700. And so 700, 750 is where we set the bar. It does not have to be at that level. I know that in 2023, Fresno's rate was about $500, but that's Fresno, which has a lower cost of living area. Those are 2 points that I can kind of speak to where we were in terms of substitute pay for folks going on strike. These are paying for people who are gonna have to cross the picket line, that are going to, be yelled at, be insulted. It is, I wouldn't say hazard pay, but it is a challenging situation. Our sub rate is $280 a day. And so we're trying to find a point in which, it will, we can recruit adults to be an adult.
I have 7 questions. First one is, can you explain number 13 for me on the resolution? It says, initiate or defend legal proceedings before PERB, Contra Costa County Superior Court, or other courts or forums to prevent a strike or work stoppage, protect student, staff, or district, and or remedy the consequence of any strike or work stoppage.
Mary, can I ask you to speak to that, please?
Sure, absolutely. Briefly, if the unions did indeed make clear that they were going to strike, one option for the district would be to file an unfair practice charge with PERB. And simultaneously, we could also file a request for injunctive relief, which would make an attempt to stop that injunction, or to, excuse me, to stop that strike. So those are two examples of kind of what this number 13 speaks to, of giving the district other options and ways to prevent that lack of continuous educational services, and then prevent any sort of harm to students as a result of the strike activity.
I have no additional questions. So, Ms. Breffel, would then the district have the power, if we pass the resolution, to approve such, actions without board approval?
Well, this resolution would speak to some of that, right? So board approval is wrapped into that process, if that makes sense. So we're speaking to that here through this resolution.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, if the union was, for example, one of the unions was to file for a strike, and legal counsel's suggestion to this district would be to file perp charge to stop it or whatever. Staff could do that without board approval because we're giving them approval today through this resolution.
Yes, but again, the caveat is you all have approved that, right, through this resolution. So I hear what you're saying. I just want to make clear, right, that you would be approving that at this point in time. So yes, you'd be investing that ability or that power to the superintendent or her designee.
Why do that now? Why not have staff come to us to do that?
It's a good
in the
question.
future?
Part of it is that this kind of process moves very quickly. So it gives the superintendent and others the ability to kind of adapt to the situation and circumstances. It's just more practical, to be candid, and gives them the ability to do what they think is best and necessary, again, to ultimately ensure the safety of students and to ensure continuous district operations. It's pretty standard practice.
Okay. This question's for staff. Thank you, Ms.
Yeah,
Breffel.
you're welcome. Absolutely.
My next question is for staff. What is our highest paid salary for teachers in the district in our salary schedule?
We're pulling that up.
Thank you. While we pull it up, I'll ask another question to not waste time. How many teachers do we have in the district? I'll go to the next one. Sorry.
Facts.
Sorry, testing you. Since you all looked at sub rates that were used in previous strikes, what was the sub rate that was done at Fremont, which was the last possible strike that happened in,
I have to research that.
okay,
And at what year are you referring to?
this year? What about Las Lamitas? This happened in the spring as well.
I could definitely look at that. And I know that in terms of information shared, I think the rates that we talked about are their daily rates and not strike rates, but I will.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Moses, were you gonna respond?
Sure. Our most recent J90 says that we have 1,337.8 FTE. Sorry, teachers on the salary schedule, that's the FTE on the salary schedule. And the highest paid teacher makes $119,395. And,
Okay, thank you. So a $750 sub rate, we do realize that that would be $140,000 per DM, which is, $20,000 more than the highest paid teacher in the district.
We're not anticipating the strike to last for a year.
But the
Most-
daily rate is the,
The daily rate, yes, and it is unusual working conditions that we're asking and recruiting folks to come into. It's also up to $750. If we wanted to set the board today, we wanted to set and see what our recruitment would look like at $600. And then that would trigger returning to the board to figure out if we're gonna up that rate. We can definitely do that. We can also have kind of more open language, that we can leave it as an open, kind of open language without a set, dollar amount. And then we set that amount up to today that the board is comfortable with, and then moving forward with, coming back together. As Ms. Keppel shared, it is once it gets started, it's a fast moving process. And so if we're looking to move this forward. And Ms. Breckle, I'm wondering, would it require, if a change were to happen and the language were general, does it require a vote or does it require board support? If you can help clarify that.
I'm sorry, Superintendent, I missed the last part of your question, whether it would require a vote or what?
Board support.
Or board support. Potentially would require a vote.
So that worried me in terms of being able to really be as nimble as we need to be in the event of a strike. If we can't get back together and have to wait, 5 days for the board to come back together, the strike will be done at that point. We need to be able to, within the hour, be able to make decisions. And I would hope that the board could trust me with making those decisions for the management of our staff and ensuring our student safety, and ensuring our instructional program continues. That's what this is about.
I just have comment.
Anything else? Okay. Anybody else have a question?
I have a question. Do subs they don't get insurance, correct? No, so if the people that this covers, they wouldn't get insurance either, correct? Okay.
Alcohol for benefits, no.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, it's up to $750 for any employee, so I believe Teamsters has completed the strike vote. This would apply also to UTR if they hold and you had 2 units that were on the verge of strike or had voted to strike, it would be to either unit max of $750 set by you.
Item 3, so be it further resolved, number 3 is provide temporary staffing and supervision for the duration of the strike or work stoppage through substitute employees, independent contractors, or volunteers, and establish substitute teacher pay rates up to $750 per day, and establish appropriate pay rates for other classifications as necessary.
And then the other question is, there's a report out at 90 days. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall report to the board within 90 days after the conclusion of any strike or concerted activity summarizing all actions taken under this resolution. To either superintendent or the attorney. Is that a normal and customary amount of time?
Ms. Breckle?
Yeah. Yes, I would say certainly with districts in the Bay Area and then Northern California, this language has been utilized in their emergency resolutions.
Okay, and can you tell me, what does a report normally look like and how is it delivered? Is it this many days, this many employees, we were able to keep these amount of sites open, or we needed to close, or we needed to, what does that report look like?
Correct. So it could focus on operational costs for one. 2, also the impact on students and services. So you might also receive a report around whether students were temporarily relocated to other school sites. For those students who are required to have transportation, how they made it to school, if there are special education services that were provided versus not, and kind of the district's plan on how to, repair that issue moving forward.
And is that report given an open or closed session?
Open in the past, is what I've seen.
Okay. Okay, I don't have anything else. Anybody else?
There's public comment.
Is there any public comments on the item? Yes, we have 2.
Before we ask public comment, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Those individuals who are contracted with us, they still come to work, correct? So for example, ProCare, we contract them, right? They still are obligated to fulfill that contract and come to work, or are they not?
They're under contract, so.
They're in the contract, so they have to stay to the contract. If not, that puts the contract in jeopardy. Okay, thank you. That's it. I'm complete.
Actually, that's a good point. After
Well,
school,
I'm a genius.
Generally, after-school programs are not run during a work stoppage.
not, okay. Okay. Okay, public comment.
Mark, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Mark Mitchell, Executive Director, United Teachers of Richmond. I want to encourage all board members of conscience to vote against this outrageous resolution. First of all, there's no emergency. There's no need to have a secret meeting on a holiday when nobody knows this is happening in order to sneak by a $750 a day sub rate. It's an absolute gut punch to the 1,500 educators of United Teachers of Richmond who are struggling to make ends meet. And the district to think that you would apportion these kind of resources to undermine those who actually serve our students is an outrage. Further, this caveat that the district administrators can take action in legal action without your further consent is a power grab. We know the kind of values at play here. When district level administrators show you who they are, board, believe them. This is not a casual endeavor. There is a grudge match going on by certain district level administrators against the classified and certificated employees of this district. And I must respectfully disagree with Superintendent Cotton. There is no effort that we can observe to avert a strike that we are aware of at the United Teachers of Richmond. We are not having any kind of back and forth with the district intended to avert a strike. They seem to be hell-bent on preparing for a strike and to fund scabs over those who serve our students every day. Please vote no on this. There's no reason to do this. There is no strike that's imminent. We haven't even had neutral appointed for the fact finding for the Teamsters nor for the UTR. There is no urgency here. Push back on this, do the right thing, and let's wait and see if we can't work this out before you take such drastic action that will forever taint your reputation as having been on the wrong side of justice at a time when students and educators need you to stand with them.
Brian Nelson, please unmute yourself.
Look, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So the obvious comment from the previous interaction, Mr. Gonzalez-Hoy, trustee, which I appreciated your response, I think it's correct, is that in this case, we are again, it's sort of a double standard in a sense. If we step back out of the framework that we're in and just think about what we're arguing, it is cheaper to hire preemptive people to guide us on our policies than it is to hire lawyers later. And it's also cheaper to hire teachers to do their jobs and pay them whatever the contract says than it is to approve 3 times the pay for subs. So I just want to point that out. I get that there's a context here, but I think we again and again need to step outside of our little our boxes in the moment and understand that there's a bigger picture that the public especially sees. And within the public's context, they don't have all the context of the legal precedents and all that, and it's seems very unfair and counterintuitive. Thank you.
Mr. F. Jepson, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just want to emphasize what Ms. Breffel said, that if a strike were to occur, there would not be a lot of time to work things out. And given that, it seems insane to me to be debating how much to pay scabs and all these other temporary funding expenses when we could be using this time to negotiate. As Mark said, that has not been happening. It's also worth pointing out that the scuttlebutt among teachers is that we are asking for so little that if it does go to a strike, like I honestly, like right now, if you were to meet the teachers exactly where we stand, I think the vote would pass. If we go to a strike, I don't know if people are willing to settle for so little. You're setting yourself up, I think, for a huge loss here. This is very foolish. It makes no sense. That is all. Oh,
That concludes public comment.
Okay, so I will ask for a motion. On B2, discussion of potential action on emergency concern activity resolution. Okay, I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, so recommend second. Are there additional comments?
I have an alternative motion I'd like to make.
Okay.
My motion is that we approve the resolution, but we amend number 3 with a $400 sub rate. And that we amend number 13, that staff needs to come back to the board for approval of actions taken against the unions.
I second.
Oh, well, so the second motion,
Sorry. Did I do it correctly? I'm not sure.
yeah, so the second motion is a 400 sub rate. And to come back to the board for number 13, approval of action. Gonzalez moved it and Hernandez is the second. Yeah, you did fine. I was just repeating back so everybody heard. Okay, so we'll move to that one first. Trustee Smith Folds.
Can we do discussion on that or no?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So up to 400 and the 13 is that the superintendent comes back before initiating 13? Is that what you're saying?
For
Okay.
approval from the board.
May I ask a question? Do we believe that if you do up to 400, that you would get people in the seats or in the house? Is there a thought around that or?
We want it to be something that's competitive enough to bring people to work during a challenging time. We definitely can put that out and attempt. I think it will be problematic.
The 400 would be awesome.
Knowing that, Fremont's rate was nothing, Fresno's rate was $500 2 years ago.
Are we doing comments or questions? I'm confused.
You know,
Sorry, I
it's
was.
for-
No, you're fine. I just don't want to jump into a comment if people have.
It's really for all of you, since it's a new motion. I think it's fine to ask questions. I don't know, do people agree with that? I mean, because I have questions too, so.
Then I'll wait on my comments until the questions. are clear.
So my question is, what was the daily teacher rate?
That's a great question. I wanted to speak to that. I can't speak to the daily sub rate, but we do, however, pay our retired teachers when they come back to substitute for us. They get their per diem rate. We currently have about 280 teachers that make between $550 and $650 a day to come back and sub for us. So I just wanted to lift up that we are paying large sub rates to our retirees. And in many cases, those retirees have long-term assignments. I'm not trying to compare the two. You can't compare a retiree with a substitute. I absolutely know that. But I just wanted to lift that up as a rate that we do regularly pay. And in an emergency, I don't know that we would be competitive enough. If we don't have the ability to increase the rate if people aren't taking a lower rate. I think that's what this is about. We wouldn't start at $750, of course. As your budget person, we don't want to spend that much, but we do need this flexibility in order to staff our schools in an emergency. And because we wouldn't be paying the $1 million a day payroll to its fullest, we can afford in this emergency to meet this emergency staffing need with additional compensation in order to serve our students in schools.
Okay, and the daily rate for teachers, did you just?
280 is the top rate.
I'm sorry, what is it?
280 is the top rate.
280. Okay, any other questions? Comment?
Yeah, so I think that this is a big mistake. I think that putting $750 is a big mistake that shouldn't have happened. And I'm really disappointed that this is coming forward. One, this would be the highest sub rate in a strike in California ever. Two, $400 would be the highest rate for subs in the Bay Area. So I think that's fair to try to get people here. But we also have to be careful that we don't want to look like we are also trying to break the unions from having the ability to go on strike. And at $750, people will see this as us trying to purposely break the union's ability to do actions. I think that we have to be very careful in balancing, of course, the safety of students. That's why I'm proposing $400, which is higher than strikes in Santa Clara County and basic aid districts, because we do have to make sure that we have adults for the people who cannot afford to have their kids stay at home during a strike. I think that we have to be clear on that. There's gonna be people who can't, and they're gonna have to send their kids to school and are gonna have to cross the teachers or classified picket lines. So we have to help them and protect them, but we also don't wanna look the opposite way and look like we're purposely trying to hurt the union's ability to do that. Now, I also think we have to be very careful because even though we're not paying the $1 million a day in payroll, we're also not gonna make the money that we need to make those days because we're not gonna have the students in the classroom. So we're gonna lose money, a lot of money anyways. So it's not gonna be $1 million for $1 million, right? Because we're not making that money because kids are not coming to school. At least some of them. I also think it's going to be a slap in the face for teachers and classified right now. Once they hear that we would approve $750 up to $750 a day for an action that is going to be really difficult for a lot of them. A lot of them that make close to minimum wage and teachers who make much less. My per diem as a teacher was $290. If I was making that today and I saw you're paying sub $750, I would be on the strike line as long as it took for the teacher, for the district to pay me what I need. It's gonna be an insult for a lot of them. My wife makes $340 a day. And instead what we're saying is that we're gonna pay up to $750 to subs to cross their picket line. I don't know what we're doing here. Like, I don't know what we're doing. And this is not about trust, Superintendent Cotton. I was really disappointed you said that because I trust you and no one's fought harder for you to be here than me. I was really disappointed you said it to me because I trust you. I don't trust everybody who's making this decision on your behalf. I'm done.
Any other comments?
I think that this is the beginning of the work that is going to be very, very difficult. I think that this is the beginning of the board having to make decisions that are in the best interest of students. And that can seem opposite of what may be in the best interest of adults. I think one of the things that makes these decisions so difficult is the balance of that. Showing the respect of teachers, because most everybody in here has either been a teacher, their children were teachers, they have been in that role, they understand the plight of teachers. And at the same exact time, teachers and other staff, not just teachers, but teachers and other staff, and at the same time, the importance of how do we keep our education of our students going. This is incredibly hard for me personally, just as a personal trustee, this is incredibly hard because I am a teacher, still hold my credential. I am a parent. I have to decide whether I'm sending my kid to school or what's gonna happen. So. I mean, you have 3 motions on the floor at the time?
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion that we put on the floor that we go up to the retired rate, which is $650. You said that they make between $550 and $650, our retirees, that we go up to $650, our retiree rate. That's not a huge jump down, but it is a jump down. That's my motion. I don't know if I'm gonna get a second, but that's the motion I put on the floor.
Okay, so
Would you consider changing your motion to the minimum? They go from $550 to $650, so will you consider moving it down to the $550?
So that means that the most that they can make is $550, or that's
The most that they could make,
so that's going further down than what I went.
so you went $650
I went
at the top
six-
of the range?
I went $650 as the top that can be
Top.
offered, right? So are you asking for $550 to be the top that they
Yeah,
offer?
because $550 is the minimum that we pay retirees.
So if that's the motion that you wanna make,
I mean, would you amend your motion to,
well, we have 2 on the floor.
so we have
to
2
one.
motions on the floor, so I would have to pull
So
my
she'd have to-
motion.
Yeah, she'd have to amend.
I would have to pull my
you would
motion.
have to amend it?
I
instead of
could
the
amend it, but I would
650?
have to either pull it, because I think that if we go to $650 as the most that we can pay, instead of, right now it's up to $750. I'm saying up to $650, which is the highest our retirees can make, right? What I'm hearing you say is you want me to amend it to go up to $550 is the most that we can offer. I'd rather stay at the most that we can offer as $650, but if you want to put that motion on the floor, I will pull my motion off. the floor. So you can add that motion.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll pull my motion of up to $650 off the floor, so there's room to have a third motion on the floor. Are you gonna make that?
So I'll make a motion to compensate up to $550 a day at the minimum baseline of retirees.
I have a question on that. I think you wanna say something on that?
It's not on this topic, but it's a part of, trustee Gonzalez Boy's motion. But I think we should finish the salary conversation. That was I have a comment around number 13.
Okay, so I have a question on the 550. So if you are at 550 and you're a retired teacher, you're a retired teacher, you work here for $650 a day. Do you have, then with this motion, does your salary drop to $550? If you want to come back and sub during an action? Does $100 come off your?
If the determination is up to, and it is left to the discretion of myself or designee, we would ensure that those folks who have been getting their per diem, that we would support that if they were willing to cross the picket line. I don't know if they would be.
A question. So we keep saying though that the 550 to 650 is a retiree rate, but the 650, there's no teacher that makes 650 per diem in our district, right? So what is it 650 for the highest paid teacher? That's a per diem? Okay. At 119,
648, and some change.
but we have retired teachers who make less than 550. So it's not a range of 550 to 650. It's just most retirees make between 550, 650, but we have retired teachers who make below $500. Who might have retired at a lower step.
The list I'm looking at, the lowest daily is 545. So it's not too many. It's
There's not many
too
that were retired.
545, most are closer to the 650.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
You need a second on your motion. I'll second.
Okay,
Can I-
so it's,
So your motion is not inclusive of the two?
It's not inclusive of what?
13, no, she's only doing salary. 13 is to initiate or defend legal proceedings before PERB, Contra Costa Superior Court and other courts. All the motions so far have been related to salary only, not 13.
No, mine
No,
was with
his was
13.
related to
13, his is
13.
a
I
13.
made a motion, my second,
These two,
my
sorry.
third motion on the floor was just related to salary. I pulled that motion off the floor. Clerk Yana put a motion on the floor, but I don't know if she included 13 or just her salary. Her motion just included
Okay,
salary.
and 13 would be to come back, right? For any.
That's the motion I made, but
Right.
Can I get clarification on 13?
Sure. Is there something particular in 13?
So any movement that we do around PERB, that would come to the board, right?
If, instead of me or designee of legal counsel, making that determination of what should be a next step through this process, particularly as it deals with any legal action, dealing with PERB or superior courts or any other court system. Being able to move forward with any action as quickly as we possibly can. Really to prevent a strike. And to address and ensure that we are supporting the constitutional rights of our students. That is what number 13 is about. Again, it is common language for these emergency resolutions within our state. It's not a new unprecedented power that's shared. It is a common decision-making for the superintendent and staff with legal support, legal advice.
Well, I think we still have the attorney, if you have any questions specifically for the attorney.
I don't specifically have questions, I think I'm just going back and forth, and now I'm thinking out loud on. I do feel it's necessary for us to be part of that decision-making table, because it feels like not everything is as transparent as it should be or has been. I think my hesitation around that is that I know also how difficult it is to get a whole board in a space within 24-hour notice. So having that on the table can potentially be a step back. And I'm trying to find out, is there a way that we can commit the board within, like, if something comes up, we have a 24-hour turnaround regardless of whatever it is? Because I think sometimes this takes the back seat and we want to be part of this decision making, but then we're not fully committed to being present when those decisions have to be made. And that's, I think, my only setback to that I know how busy everyone's lives is, and this is a fast paced thing that we're looking at. So with that being said, I will just keep my, okay, go.
Do you want to ask that question to our attorney who's on the call? Is there an alternative? Because I don't know.
Okay, yeah, is there, or wherever she's at, she heard me.
Yeah.
Was there an alternative?
I did hear you. Yeah, so you could certainly, as long as you give that 24-hour notice, continue to call special meetings. That resolution could be adjusted to speak to those circumstances. It's really up to you all on your discretion.
Is there an alternative way to make a decision outside of pulling back together for a special board meeting?
Likely not. The language could be more specific here, would be the other alternative around just, what the board is authorizing you as the superintendent to take on versus what the board would like to approve.
So the alternative language could be something like if the board cannot be reached in 24 hours to have a discussion, then the authority relents back to the superintendent or designee. Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, yes. Or again, just carving out, what specific actions you're comfortable with the superintendent taking versus not. So there is room to make changes.
I do have another question for the attorney as far as an emergency meeting. That it can be called without 24 hours of notice. I mean, this does seem, a strike seems like a severe disruption to operations. Would you have to wait 24 hours?
Not necessarily. So that is an alternative option. If you all think you can meet sooner, then certainly you could do that as long as you meet certain requirements.
Or you could, I mean, like, you don't have to wait 24 hours, right?
Correct.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. So will you restate your motion again? Are you at, let me see here. $5.50 per day max? Dan?
I am at $5.50 per day max, and I'm gonna. I think the change the wording around 13 about ensuring that we are able to meet within 24 hours, and if not, then we are giving the superintendent or designee the opportunity to move forward.
Okay, so $5.50 per day, meeting within 24 hours or suit has authority to act. Did I recite that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So that's your motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Rihanna moves. Second is Reckler. Comments? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Trustee Smith Folds,
Come back to me, please.
Gonzalez Hoy,
No.
Hernandez.
Which motion is this?
This is Clerk Kenyatta. It is max $5.50 per day. With giving the superintendent, with the board trying to meet within 24 hours of, the conditions under 13. Initiate or defend legal proceedings before PERB, Contra Costa County Superior Court or other courts or forums to prevent a strike or work stoppage, protect students, staff, or district, and or remedy the consequences of any strike or work stoppage. If not, the superintendent has the authority to act.
Yes.
There is a yes. Kenyatta,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So both,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes?
Mm.
Okay, motion passes. Kenyatta, yes. Reckler, yes. Smith Folds, yes. Hernandez, yes. Gonzalez, Foy, no. And that is that item. Thank you, everybody.
Can we take a 5 minute?
Yes,
we go
want to
to
take
vote?
5?
Mhm.
Okay, returning at 12:26. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're on.
Okay. All right, everybody, we're back. We are up to C1 discussion item and reports. County response to resolution number 3526-30. Who is that one?
That will be me.
Okay.
In our last board meeting, we discussed the resolution that staff is bringing to the board for approval of our conditional budget. That did not move forward. requested to have this item added to the agenda just to explain the budget process itself. This is not an action item, but is to provide information to the board about the process that we are in the midst of. Passing this around. I'll ask Dr. Moses if you can walk us through this budget.
Yeah, well, I believe that Superintendent Cotton has shared a welfare resource that actually outlines the entire budget adoption process for your review. I think what I just want to share here is where we stand currently. The county has not yet given us a response as to what their next move is gonna be. They need time to review. But here's the process. If you look at the budget process chart that I shared with you, we are on a single budget cycle. In box 2, it says that the county responds with recommendations and conditional approval. And then they have to make a decision regarding how we respond to that, on whether they're gonna approve our budget to move forward as is, or disapprove our budget, which would trigger other steps. One of the reasons in which we got the conditional approval is in order to prevent our district from entering into the status of lack of going concern. Currently, our 3-year budget that was passed in June, we can only meet our 3% reserve requirement in one of the 3 budget years. The county's given us an opportunity to say that we're gonna address that on our own. And without the resolution stating that we're gonna address that on their own, then they're gonna have to make a determination on whether or not they are going to adjust our budget themselves or move us back into lack of going concern category, in which we'd be assigned an additional fiscal advisor who would have stay in rescind. I don't know which way the county is going to go with this. They could appoint a committee to review our to review our budget and provide independent recommendations. But we would have to both agree to a committee, or the board would have to agree to a committee. If a committee is not agreed to, then it is solely up to the committee. Just want everybody to be aware that there's no longer a process where a state where the state would provide someone to take over our budget. New legislation names this as the county, regardless of where we are. So, it is the county that we're accountable to for our entire budget. I think the only thing I wanted to lift up for you today is, that because we can't meet our obligations, we do run a high risk of going into lack of going concern. And, the previous work we did with Javetta Cleveland was really great, but remember that whatever budget decisions we made, we had to vet them through Javetta first. And if she didn't agree, we went back to the drawing board. So I just want to name that is kind of where we are, where we're waiting on the county to decide where. And that's it. Review the resource. Business Services is here to answer any questions that you may have. And as soon as we hear from the county, we will notify you of what their next steps are. Statutorily, they have until, I want to say October 22nd in order to announce next steps for us.
So 5/10/22.
I'm gonna say that's what sticks out for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and in terms of running our budget, we aren't prevented from doing anything in this moment. That is what I was immediately concerned about. It does not halt our spending. It does, however, put the county in control of deciding the next steps of how our budget will be moving forward and how we'll address the structural deficit.
Does anybody have any questions?
Can I just make sure I understood? The next step is to wait for the county to make a decision how they're going to implement our budget, or how they're going to, I don't know what the right word, how they're gonna oversee our budget,
Respond to.
respond to our
Not passing the.
How are they gonna respond to us not passing the budget on Wednesday night? And their response could be a committee, or their response could be to impose a budget. Or, and that's the only two responses, or their response could be stay and rescind. What are their three responses, Chad?
Good question. So we're required by the state to have an approved budget. We have to get to an approved budget. And since we aren't able to meet the conditions of their conditional approval, then now they get to decide. Okay? I think your question is what happens next, and that's gonna depend on what the county decides. If they decide West Contra Costa is now a lack of going concern, then they're gonna take the road of appointing a fiscal advisor to support us with addressing the structural deficit. They could also take another route, which would be up to them. The Budget Review Committee is much like the impasse process, and that you both have to agree to use a committee, and you both have to agree on who's gonna be on the committee, and if you don't agree, it defers back to the county. So I can't give you an exact what will happen, but those are the scenarios. And if I just might share in reflection, I think that either one of those would be, I think it would help us in the long run to have outside entities examining the budget and to have someone with stay and rescind powers. So I think that where we are in this moment, we're gonna get good county guidance. The county has been really great partners with us. And so if this is where we are, I'm confident that they'll continue to be great partners. Okay.
Any other questions for anybody?
Public. It's public comment.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking whether I had a question or not. Okay, so it's 10:22, so that's a board meeting. So can we, I'm wondering, can we have an update at that board meeting? Maybe we could do it in a superintendent report, or if we know a couple of days earlier, we can agenda this. I'm just trying to figure out how to keep everybody informed on what they're gonna say and what if there are choices, there may not be choices. They may say, you have a fiscal advisor, we've done it for you. Okay, so we'll probably have to,
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I have communicated with the county superintendent. That this can come back to the board for another vote and consideration, and they will take that into consideration through their decision-making process as well.
okay. Yeah, for me, I mean, my two big things are involvement of the body and transparency. So however I'm just trying to think through the timeline.
And if we have time and opportunity to bring it back, if we wanted to bring it to the October 22nd board meeting.
Okay, I guess that's it for now. I had a different idea, but I thought that the deadline was gonna be different, so never mind. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go to public comment. There's no public comment?
No, there's one.
Oh,
Ray Nelson, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm traveling in the backseat of my car, college tripping with my daughter in Los Angeles, so thank you for making time for me. Dr. Moses is completely right. They have to take certain actions, and those actions are prescribed by the law. And I appreciate understanding that now. We don't need a fiscal advisor. That's the problem. We don't need a fiscal advisor. We need allies. We can kick the can down the road to deal with the underfunding of various programs like special education, but we're not mismanaging our money in that regard. I mean, there may be some of that extra, but the problem isn't that. The problem is structural. And if we don't address it together, I really empathize with you all being in a position of having to decide the immediate stakes versus future stakes. But they've had 35 years to get this right since 1991. It's still a problem, and it's not our problem. We're managing our money fine. We just don't get enough of it from the government, and the charter schools are not equitable with us. So please don't kick the can down the road. Take a stand now.
iPhone, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ethan Sorsher. I'm a teacher at Montalban Manor K-8. I want to thank Trustee Gonzalez Hoy for his leadership and for his foresight. Dr. Cotton, I find your messaging that we are one West Contra Costa to be very inspirational. And I'm optimistic that we can find a way forward after whatever agreement the collective bargaining agencies come to with the district. And as far as I can tell in these conversations, Trustee Gonzalez Hoy is really holding that. So thank you, Trustee Gonzalez Hoy, for your forward thinking. I also just want to lift up, a lot of talk has been made about salary, but that's not the only thing that the collective bargaining agencies are looking for. Smaller class sizes, safer learning conditions for our students, all of which would directly impact both student achievement and student safety. Thank you very much for your time.
That concludes public comments.
Okay, so as a follow-up to this item, we'll just do our best to keep the board informed, and if there's any any other steps or actions that can be taken or whatever, we'll do our best to try, and otherwise, maybe it'll be back on October 20, let's try for October 22nd, whatever that looks like, and we'll just try and keep everybody informed. Is there anything?
Can we do the comments?
Yeah.
Is it okay for you? Yeah, I mean, I think that we didn't have much time to like go into detail last week as of why we were voting, how we were voting. We were voting last minute, but I think it's important to just point out, like for me, obviously we've been on the board, you know, Trustee Reckler, Trustee Smith-Wilson and I for 5 years. And we've seen many county letters. We've seen a lot of county intervention, both good and bad. And here's the thing. Last night, I reviewed all the county letters that we've gotten so far in the last 5 years, which is actually quite a few. We've never gotten a letter requesting us to pass a resolution this time of the year. They have asked us to pass a plan, right? They've asked us to cut certain number of employees and by February, but they've never asked us to pass a resolution. I checked in with all the districts in the county who are experiencing what we're experiencing. None of them got a letter like what we did. I checked in with 2 superintendents, county superintendents in other counties. They both told me they don't send this type of letter to districts. They told me on their reasons why they might, but I'm not gonna share that now. But that we're getting this type of intervention now, before we do our work with community, before we're transparent about the cuts, before we finish negotiations with labor, to me, it seems unfair, it seems unproductive, which is why I voted no. Someone asked me over the weekend, like, it didn't seem like a big deal compared to what you guys would have to do in January or March. Of course not. And we've done it many times. You guys have done it once, right? And it was really hard, but we had to do it. Like, I am committed to passing a balanced budget. Like, I think that's one of my commitments. We've made hard choices. We've cut people, which is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I voted no because it was important to the county. Why are you overstepping with us only compared to anyone else? Now it feels weird because then this triggers more county intervention, but like, I want them to be real partners, not just threaten us, right? And tell us what to do throughout the whole year. The difference between this and the letter we got in 2024 is that then when they sent it to us in August, they were like, by February, you need to have a plan, you need to have idea on how you're gonna balance it. This is how many people we think you might have to cut. That I understand, right? They're doing their accountability measures. This was to me over the top. And I think that's the message that we need to tell Superintendent Mackey. Like, why are you treating us differently than the other 19 districts in the county? Or doing things differently than other superintendents would do it in your position. Anyways, that's one of the major reasons why I voted how I did. I also think that like it sets the wrong precedent for us to do that before engaging community or engaging each other, engaging with staff and what we need. And we're starting to do that in closed sessions, but anyways, so I just wanted to share that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions of why we did what we did, and that's important to share.
Any other comments on that?
Can I add a comment? Gonzalez Hoy. We are, thank you for that, and we are moving in that direction with, the specialization meetings, with our district budget engagement committee. So the work is starting to happen. I just want to look that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Cause I know we're doing the work, right? So then to me, it felt like, why is it necessary for you to do this right now? When we're obviously doing the work to have a balanced budget. We have 1,100 meetings that Dr. Moses is hosting every night, right? Like, it feels like that, right? Like, why are you doing this, right? Like, and it almost feels like we don't trust you to make these hard choices later, right? Like, that's really the ultimate message to me. It's like, we don't trust you, but then you have to pass the resolution, you have to pass this other thing in December, and then you have, so anyways, it just feels like that's, but thank you, I agree, and I acknowledge that, yeah.
I think that to your point, there's a both end, right? I think that the county is being incredibly pushy. And I also think that we need to try to keep one hand on the wheel, right? So I think that for me, it was how do we keep one hand on the wheel? And the county is gonna be the county, right? The county is gonna be the county. And at this point, to Dr. Moses' point, they're going to be in here now. And how do we navigate if they follow the rules and what they put down? They're gonna be in here in some form. So how do we navigate that now and try to continue to do what's best for the students that we all know? The county is so far removed from our kids. So how do we make sure that we're still making decisions the best that we can for our kids, the kids that we see every day? So that's gonna be it has to be a togetherness fight, right? And we're gonna have to push back on the county together with the community, with everyone that touches a kid, right? Our staff, our teachers, our community partners, our CBOs, all of that together, we're gonna have to push what's best for our kids. And I think that may be a way that we are one WCCUSD, because there's nothing that can bring people closer together than one common enemy or common foe or force or whatever the adjective is at that point. So hopefully this will turn out to be the best way that we can move as one, but we're gonna have to move as one. Because now we have somebody in here that doesn't know us like we know us. I'm complete.
Anything else? Okay, we'll bring C1 to a close and move to C2, the board policies for first reading.
I can introduce it. I said I can introduce it.
Oh, yeah, sure, go right ahead. I just want to say I put this on because we do have a governance meeting coming up, so I thought if anybody had any comments, we could hear them, address them, and then move them back to governance. So that's the reason. Sure, go right ahead. I did that.
We are bringing to our first read, articles that are related to the Mahmoud, Taylor decision that happened earlier here. Some of those articles need to be updated, be in line with that decision, and then we also are bringing forward another article around environmental education. This is an example of the work that continues prior to, as we're getting ready to begin work with CSBA on updating all of our policies. This work still continues within the district, and we're very capable of doing this work. Over 676 articles might take a while without a concerted effort, but we are definitely doing the work. And so with that, I'd like to pass it to Associate Superintendent Pastor Praskas to walk us through these items.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, President Reckler, Clerk Anyana, trustees, and Superintendent Cotton. So like Superintendent Cotton said, today we are bringing forward several board policies for a first reading. These policies were all reviewed by the Governance Committee on the September 19th meeting, as well as by our superintendent and our cabinet and additional appropriate district staff to weigh in. These updates align with our district policies. They align with updated ed code, new legislation, including the recent court rulings of Mahmoud versus Taylor, and it ensures that we're staying current and compliant. And so if you look at the policies, BP 6141.2, BP 61421, BP 61428 and BP 6144 are all related to updates for Mahmoud versus Taylor. They all follow the CSBA guidelines, and the BP 6144 takes into account the feedback we received from Trustee Smith-Folds of adding a definition of what controversial issues is. And our environmental science education one, BP 6142.5, brings us up to date to what our current practice is and the new adoptions and our commitment. So together, all of these updates really reinforce our commitment to making sure that we have an inclusive and comprehensive instruction that reflects both the diverse beliefs, that promotes student health and well-being, and that really supports that environmental literacy and civic engagement. So there is no fiscal impact. Like I said, they're all aligned to CSBA updates, and these all will return for a second reading and approval at the next October board meeting. Open to any questions or suggestions to changes we'd like to see on this policy.
Thank you so much. Do any of the board members have questions on the policies put forward? We do okay on your on the description of controversial issues?
I'm looking at it now. Give me 1 second. I'll print that. Ms. Catherine, I'm trying to find it. Can you read the definition that we had, that you put in there?
Absolutely. Okay, so here we go. Definition of controversial issues. As part of its commitment to fostering critical thinking and respectful discourse, the board recognizes that controversy is a natural part of education and civic life, and that the district's educational program may sometimes include instruction related to controversial issues. While there's no single definition of what makes an issue controversial, and any topic may be considered controversial by some, the board defines controversial issues as those that typically evoke strong feelings and divergent views among individuals or groups, impacts the political, social, cultural, economic, or environmental context in which people live, involves questions of values and belief, often dividing opinion within and across communities. It is complex and lacks clear answers, with perspectives shaped by personal experience, identity, interests, and values, arises at various levels, influencing local, national, and global communities, covers a wide range of topics, including but not limited to the interpretation of historical events, religion, political philosophy, culture, human rights, racial and gender equity, and varies across time and place, such that an issue considered controversial in one community or area may be widely accepted in another.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it has a lot of words, so, okay. This has a lot of words. I'm assuming that the breadth of that is to help cover us legally and to help cover, it's a huge umbrella for a reason, right? So I think that that's fine because it's such a huge umbrella for a reason. Yeah, I'll save everything else for comments. I'm complete.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, move to comments.
Do we have public comment or just leave the comment?
Oh, yeah, we.
There is no public.
There's a public.
I think my comment about this is where that it gets real interesting being a public agency. It gets real, this is where it kind of brings up all your civic lessons about the separation of church and state and all that kind of what can you offer in a public school? What can't you offer in a public school? What are the rights? What are the concerns? I think that some of this is going to have to be board values. What do we value? What is our board value? What do we consider to be public education with the safety and the concern of all of our students, right? What do we consider to be education? Are we saying that understanding and knowing somebody's diversity and culture and ethnicity and all of that is part of the education that we want our kids to have when we talk about a global understanding of the worldview, like our strategic plan has, right? So how are our policies, procedures, and protocols and curriculum and our values matching up with what we want to see at the end? So that's okay. I'm used to it. So what is it, so I think that we're gonna have deeper conversations when those individual incidences come up, right? When we have those individual incidences at school and a parent says, I don't want my kid to learn X, Y, and Z. I want this out of X, Y, and Z. I think before those happen, the board needs to be proactive in saying, these are our values around education. This is what we wanted. We need to be transparent with parents. This is what you get when you come to WCC USD. This is who we are. This is what you may have in your classrooms, and give people choice. If you don't want to be here, got it. Love you, sorry, gotta go. But we're not going, this is who we are. We believe in diversity, belonging, inclusion, anti-racism, whatever it is, and that shows up in our classrooms. I'm complete.
Any other comments? So I want to say that the discussion that we had at the last governance meeting on Mahmood versus Taylor was very interesting to me, and to know that there's more to come. You know, we took in these policies the lightest touch possible. You know, it was like, what's the minimum that we can do? And really in these policies, the big update was parents and guardians may opt out, was really the biggest update in those. But we'll see where that goes legally. More to come on those, but we, and there was good discuss, it was good, we don't know, but we'll take each one as it comes, and they're updated to the minimal standard. We didn't overreach in any of the form, and listening to the attorney was very interesting as well. It is recorded and available on the district's YouTube website, if anybody wants to listen to the discussion, and we'll see where it goes, but we were very light touch.
I appreciate the minimum that was done to follow the law. I appreciate that. I also don't want it to be on our teachers. I want it to be on us as the board. This is a board value that you're going to see in our classrooms. And if you don't like it, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord slipped you. This is who we are. And I think that we have to start developing, this is who we are as one WCC USD. We believe in, and this is what you're gonna see in the classroom. But it's public. If you don't like this, there's other options for you, but this is who we are. So that's just where I'm trying to raise the flag. Let's make sure that we're saying who we are. I'm complete.
All right, if there's any feedback between now and the next governance meeting, which is. It's on the 21st. If you think of anything, let the superintendent know.
Governance is on the 21st.
And we will, make sure it's approved. Okay, so I know the end of that. Okay, so seeing nothing further on open session, we're gonna recess to closed session items. The closed session items for today is conference with labor negotiators. We will take public comment on closed session items. Is there any?
There is no public comment.
Okay, then we expect to be back at 3. And so we expect to report that, we expect to report that. Thank you, everyone.
Can we go and we share it to the-